Hi, thanks for joining us for the Family Plot, Gardening in the Mid-South. I'm Chris Cooper. Drip irrigation keeps your plants watered even when you can't go outside. That's just ahead on the Family Plot, Gardening in the Mid-South.
Production funding for the Family Plot, Gardening in the Mid-South is provided by the WKNO Production Fund, the WKNO Endowment Fund, and by viewers like you. Thank you.
Welcome to the Family Plot. I'm Chris Cooper. Joining me today is Celeste Scott. Celeste is a horticulture specialist with UT Extension. How's it going, Celeste?
Good. How are you, Chris?
I'm good. It's always good to have you with us.
Thank you.
All
Thank
right.
you. I'm glad y'all could come out
Yes.
here and visit me today.
So where are we?
We are at the UT Gardens here in Jackson, located at the West Tennessee Ag Research and Education Center. And we are currently standing in a research trial plot.
Okay.
We are trying out some production methods and cultivar comparisons for production cut flower growers in Tennessee.
Wow.
So we're excited about this. It's an applied research plot, so really trying to take in some practical use skills and help our growers learn from them.
Wow, that is good. So let's help the growers out, right? And
Yes.
those gardeners as well.
Yes, sir.
So let's talk a little bit about drip irrigation. Let's start with this. What is drip irrigation?
What is drip irrigation? That's a good question.
Okay.
So drip irrigation could mean a lot of different things depending on what type of use you're applying it to, right?
Okay.
We've got a number of different tapes that could be utilized, poly tubes, micro tubing, emitters. There's all these, different vocabulary to become familiar with. And they all have their place for different purposes.
Okay.
But today I want to share a drip tape layout with you all today and talk about some of the pros and cons of it.
Right.
So with this drip tape system that we're utilizing, it's best used for medium to large spaces that have nice, long, continuous rows.
Right.
So if you've got bins, this isn't gonna be the one we're showing today, wouldn't really be great for like a landscape type setting,
gotcha.
right? So
Okay.
we can do drip irrigation in landscapes, but we're gonna use a different setup, a different style than what we're talking about today.
Okay.
But for the drip tape, we've got some products here that I'll be able to show you and kind of educate you on what the pieces mean and all of the different fittings. But you can kind of see the start to our system here.
Yeah, I see.
So we've got our main line coming in from the hydrant right here.
Okay.
We've got an elbow where we turn that poly tube.
Okay.
And then we're running it all along this main heading of our planting. This is where all of our drip tapes are going to be connected, and I call this the header line.
header
so
line, all right.
the main line comes from the hydrant to your planting area,
Okay.
and then this is my header line. And you could have numerous header lines. We could continue that supply line down to the planting and put in as many of those as we needed to.
Okay.
I have two in this planting, and we're just going to look at this one today. So then once we come down our header line, you'll see where we've plugged in our drip tape connectors,
Okay.
essentially. And these can look a lot of different ways. So the particular ones I'm using here have valves where I can turn them
So you can
on
turn them,
and
all right.
off.
Okay.
So that's really helpful, especially if you've got some dry zones in your irrigation or certain plants that need more water than others. You can shut off everything else and leave the plants that need more water, you could leave those on, or vice versa. And it's also handy if you are delivering a fertilizer through these irrigation.
okay. Yeah, I
That's
think
called
about that.
fertigation.
Okay. Right,
So
right.
maybe you want
That's
to
good.
fertilize certain areas and not fertilize others.
Okay.
So
That's good.
that's why I included these valves, but you don't have to have
Yeah,
these
okay.
valves, and we'll look at some of those here in a minute.
Okay.
So you'll see we use those connectors to plug into this header line. We've attached the drip tape to that header line, and then these are pulled taut all the way down this planting area. So this run is about 120 feet long.
Wow.
And I like to always test out your irrigation before
I
you
think it's smart to do that.
Yeah, before you put down this landscape fabric. So you know, landscape fabric isn't a necessity for drip tape situations, but it does provide some benefits. So
Okay.
I'm obviously using it primarily for weed control, but as far as irrigation goes, it helps reduce evaporation
Got it.
from the surface and maintain moisture in that root zone longer.
Right.
So that
Which is important, right,
Yeah,
for your
so that
plants.
I don't
Good.
have to water as frequently.
Good deal.
So definitely these two work well together, and the tape does go under the fabric
Under the
if you're using them together.
Yes.
So it needs to go
Under
under
the
the fabric.
fabric. Okay.
So we want to pull those tight. We want to test them to make sure all the plumbing is working properly, and then you can pull your
Just pull it up.
fabrics. Yeah,
Okay.
pull your fabrics
Got it.
over them. And another thing I really like about them, you know, some people will tack these down along that planting area, but I like to leave mine
leave them.
untacked.
Okay.
So I can reach under here and pull them from side to
gotcha.
side, right?
Gotcha.
So if I see a dry zone where my cutouts aren't getting moist, I can see a little dry zone right
Yeah.
there. I could pull the tape over in that
Gotcha.
direction a little more and
Okay.
increase even wetness.
Okay.
So
let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Is this a one-person job?
no, it could be a one-person job. It's hard when you do it alone.
Wow.
I would say if you can have one person or two people with you,
It would help.
Yeah, it would help. Yeah,
It's a lot of work.
It is. Yeah, it is. Okay, so let's look at some of the pieces that we can use to put this puzzle together.
All right.
So there are different size mainline tubings. The one that I showed you coming down here. So this is a 3/4 inch tubing, poly tubing. This is 1/2 inch tubing.
Okay.
And it doesn't sound like a big difference, but when you
Yeah.
look at the diameter of those
That's a big
hoses,
difference.
that is a big difference. So it depends on your area that you're trying to irrigate.
Okay.
If you have a really large space like I have here, this is 20 by 240 feet.
That's long.
So I want to make sure that we're delivering the proper volume of water.
Okay.
So I'm using a 3/4 inch
And that
poly
makes sense for
tube.
that. Okay.
For a smaller home garden setting, maybe you're using this in a vegetable garden or a home cut flower garden where you've got some nice rows. Maybe you want to use this half line,
Right.
this 1/2 inch tube right
Right.
here. So just know that those are two different things
Okay.
available on the market. So then I want to talk a little bit about some of the fittings that go along with these. So to build your mainline tube to make your header, I know we showed you some down on the ground, you're probably going to want to employ some of these connectors. So this is an elbow,
Okay.
this is a T,
Elbow.
and I want
Alright.
to show you kind of how a couple little tricks that I use to connect these.
Oh, we like tricks.
Yes, so this one you'll see is made to fit a 1/2 inch tubing line, so
okay.
that's what I'm gonna use.
Okay.
Sometimes it's kind of hard to get this loosened up, so I like to take a lighter.
I wonder what the lighter was
Yeah,
for.
there's a wind out here,
Yeah.
so let me, and you just kind of heat that up. Only takes a
Little bit,
couple seconds.
yeah.
There we go.
There it
You
is.
blocked the wind for me, thank you.
Okay.
Okay, so it only takes a couple seconds. And then we're just gonna,
Look at that. Look at that.
it goes
Okay.
on like a jewel. But if you hadn't used that, it would have been a lot more difficult.
Yeah.
So once you get it pushed onto those barbs, then this is called a Loctite nut. You tighten down this Loctite nut just like this,
Ah,
as tight as you can go,
see that?
and then we don't get leaks.
Ah, look at that. And you got it
Yeah.
pretty tight. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. All right.
So that's how we get started.
Okay.
Anyway, when we're trying to build that
Trying to
main
build it.
line to
All
get
right.
out to our header line.
Got it. Got it.
Once we get to our header line, I'm going to show you how we can plug our connectors in, okay? So this is that 3/4 tube,
Okay.
just like I'm using here in my plot. And the barbs right here, you can tell are bigger than, say for instance, the barbs over here. So you've got to be careful and know that you're getting the right diameter
Okay.
barb, okay?
Got it.
So use a commercial, I like to use this commercial hole puncher
Okay.
so you don't wear your hands out. You're gonna go ahead and get our entrance holes started for us.
Okay.
It's pretty easy. You just slide this in the channel and punch that through, waller it out a little bit, and make that hole a little bigger,
Yeah.
and then you're ready to go.
Okay.
So I still like to use the little heat trick. Loosen that, yeah, I got it. Loosen that poly tube up just a little bit to kind of help you get this barb in. Don't worry if it looks like you're getting a bend in the tube. All right,
Yeah, it's in there.
so we've got that barb in
Okay.
there. You give it a little tug, you see it's in there nice
Yeah,
and
I see
tight.
it.
And we are ready to continue building off of that.
Goody goody.
So now we're gonna take our drip line, our drip tape,
Okay.
and connect it to this connector right here. So I do want to mention that the perforations for the drip tape are in between these blue lines here on top.
Right.
Depending on what brand you get, these could be white, they could be green.
Okay.
Just know that, you know, the perforations are marked by these
Wow, okay.
colored lines. And we want to make sure that the perforations are laid facing upwards when you lay your tape. If you lay them down against the soil, those little holes can get plugged by dirt.
Aha.
And then you're not
Didn't know
going to
that
get,
before.
yeah, you're not going to get even moisture. So we want to make sure that we lay with the perforations facing up.
Got it.
Okay.
That's good. That's good.
All right, so when we're getting ready to attach these, we want to make sure that we start with a nice clean cut.
Okay.
This end is not clean. We
No,
wouldn't want to
that
use
is
that
not
end.
clean.
Yeah. So make sure we're starting with a clean cut. And then we want to stretch this tape just a little bit
Okay,
to
a
help
little
us really get it on that barb. So I like to take my littlest finger, ring
So these
finger.
are all the little tricks,
These
right?
are our
These
tricks.
are little tricks.
And you just kind of tuck it in and then pull.
Wow,
So you're
okay.
just stretching it just ever so slightly.
Mm.
Okay. Then I like to open it up a little bit.
Okay.
Okay.
Ever so slightly. she
Ever so
says.
slightly.
All right, all right.
And then it's going to just slide right on
And
to
it
that
did.
barb. And it did.
And it did. All right.
But if you hadn't done that, you would have struggled and struggled.
I probably would have struggled with that.
It would have taken a while. Okay. So now we've got to tighten down this lock nut,
Okay.
but you've got to be careful because as you begin to tighten it, see how the tape
see
will
that.
turn? And we don't want that because we want those holes to stay vertical,
Yeah.
right? Stay facing up.
Got it.
So you got to kind of have a finesse. I like to hold on. See, the barb is still right here. That's where the barb is.
Okay.
So I put my fingertips on the barb and hold the tape in place and then tighten the
Tighten it
lock
down.
nut with my other hand, okay?
Ah,
Get it as tight as you can.
all right.
And then you're set up
Okay.
and you just continue on
okay.
adding connectors for however many lines you need
Okay.
to adequately irrigate, you know, the width of whatever your row is. I'm using 3 and my rows are 4 feet wide and I'm getting good moisture with that. And now if we pretend like we've gone all the way down to the end of the line
Okay.
and it's time to plug this up, right? We don't want water just spewing out the end of the
Right.
line. We've got to create an end block right there. We're going to use this little end cap. It's the same concept. Stick my little finger
Stick your
in,
finger in there. All right.
kind of loosen it up.
Ever so slightly.
Ever so slightly. You don't want to use heat on the poly tape. That's important. Only use, oh, it's a vinyl tape. Don't use heat on the drip tape. Only use heat on that poly tubing.
Okay, got it.
Okay, so it slides on there real easily. Tighten that lock nut down. And I like the ones that come with this little loop because then I can put a staple in it and
Oh,
anchor
yeah,
it.
to the ground. Got
And
it.
that way the
Got it.
tube isn't like wiggling
Got it.
around too much while the water's going.
Got it.
Okay?
Okay.
So that is a short version on how to assemble the pieces that you would need to have a drip irrigation system at home.
That is pretty good. So let me ask you just one question, right? Where can a homeowner find all of these pieces for
That's
the
a good
drip irrigation
question.
system?
That's a good question.
Okay.
So we can order online. There are some home garden kits that actually are pretty good. They're matching up the dimensions for you, so you don't have to worry if you're getting the
that's
wrong
so
size
good.
fittings to fit
Yeah.
the right size tubing. They're going to match that all up for you.
Okay.
And it's usually going to be based on space. How much space are you irrigating? So really any of those home garden kits are going to be adequate. Or, you know, if you get really confident and you want to have something super custom,
Right.
you can certainly order it piece by piece.
Piece by piece?
And
All right.
sometimes you can get a little cheaper that way. So it's good to experiment. I would suggest that whichever route you go, that you buy a few extra fittings for, you know, if something happens.
Okay, I get
So
you.
for
Right.
example, I had a drip tape that had too much pressure behind it from the faucet and it sprouted a leak. And I had to
Okay,
cut the leak
okay.
out. And then, so this is a coupler.
Okay.
And I didn't have one that wasn't already hooked up to show y'all, but so it's got the barbed nipple on both sides.
Yeah, okay.
And you just slide that tape right on, tighten it down, and now you've fixed your
Got
leak.
it. Got it.
If it's a small leak, like maybe it's just a nick on the side, I had some voles one day that had done just a tiny bit of nibbling on
Okay.
the side. You can fix small tears with electrical tape.
Of course you can, yeah.
But it only works if the tape is dry.
And not
So
wet. Yeah.
you run the irrigation, you find out there's a leak, then you have to turn off the irrigation and let the whole thing dry so you can repair it with your electrical tape. But certainly make sure you have a couple extra pieces on hand just to help you, deal with those situations. Another piece of the puzzle that I failed to mention,
Okay, let's do that.
I'm gonna go, just like we had to have a plug on the end of the drip tape,
Okay.
we need to have a plug on the end of the header line.
Oh, okay.
So
okay.
the line, well, here, I'll do it on this one so everybody can see. So this is our header line. This is where you attach our drip. There's our plug
That's
for
the
our
plug,
drip.
okay.
We need a plug for our header line. So we're gonna use a device like this, okay? And again, use our trick with heat.
That's the heat.
Heat that up just a tad bit. This fitting's gonna slide right on there.
Right on it. Yeah.
Tighten down that
Yeah.
lock nut, and you're gonna be ready to go.
So Celeste, how do we get water to our header hose?
That's a good question.
Okay.
We've talked about how to set up in the
Yeah.
field. Now we need to talk about setting up at the hydrant.
So we're at the hose. What's next?
Okay, so this is what comes next. We've got options, okay?
Options, yeah.
In this case, I wanted to start with a Y because I wanted to have one of those Ys that leads to my irrigation, my drip line irrigation.
Okay.
But I also wanted to be able to have a water hose that I can fill up buckets or do other watering activities with,
Smart.
right? So if you feel like you're gonna need your hydrant to be serving multiple purposes, you're gonna wanna start with a Y or a splitter of some sort, okay?
Smart, I like that.
So let's start with a splitter.
Okay.
Then next preference is a timer.
Ah.
If you would like to pre-program your irrigation
Yeah.
or your fertilizers, then you would, next in line would come your timer,
Okay.
After the timer, what we have here is a strainer and a backflow preventer.
Okay.
And you don't necessarily need a backflow preventer if you're not using some kind of inline fertigation. Okay, so what we're doing is trying just to protect the water source. We don't want anything going backwards in the line whenever things get turned off and there's still pressure in the drip line, right? So it's
Makes sense.
naturally going to push back towards the origin.
Okay, that makes
So
sense.
we've got a strainer and a backflow preventer. The next thing in line is a pressure regulator. So you may or may not need a pressure regulator, but I'm gonna say in most cases you will. This hydrant has very strong water pressure because it's ran off of a city water source.
Oh, okay.
So city waters, county waters oftentimes have pretty high pressure.
got you.
Well waters tend to have less pressure attached to their sources.
Okay, got
So you may need that so that you don't blow out your drip tapes. Okay? And depending on what thickness drip tape you get, it's gonna have a pressure rating, and it's gonna say you can't go over 30 psi, you can't go over 50 psi.
Oh, that's good to have. It's
Right.
good to know.
And
Yeah,
so that's
okay.
going to help you know what type
Okay.
of pressure regulator to put in there. And then you attach your main line. And if you're not doing any kind of fertilizing, that's all you have to do. This line would go directly, you plumb it out to wherever your planting area is.
Mm-hmm.
You start attaching your drip tape. In my situation, I'm connected up to an industrial type fertilizer injector.
Okay.
And I put my soluble fertilizer in this bucket, and this suction hose takes it up, and this meters it into my mainline hose, which comes out on your side.
Got it.
For home gardeners, they may find this is going to be more the size of what a home gardener might have. If you're wanting to do some kind of inline fertigation, they mix the water soluble in here, they attach it to their line. Wherever you purchase this, it's gonna have a connector kit that comes with it. So don't worry about not having the right size connectors, because it's gonna come with that kit to connect it to your mainline hose.
Got it.
Okay?
So let's define something real quick for the homeowners.
Yeah.
Water soluble. What
Water
do we mean
soluble.
by that?
That is the fertilizer that you can mix in water and it dissolves.
Okay.
And then you deliver that fertilizer to the plants via the water.
Got it.
Does that make
Good.
sense?
That's good.
So it looks like we have a lot of things going on here, but the important thing is to remember the general order, okay? So we've got water source,
All right.
timer, backflow and strainer, pressure regulator, main line, okay?
I think that's good.
All right.
All right. Thank you, Celeste. We
Good.
appreciate that.
I've had fun talking about drip.
This has been fun. I appreciate it so much.
All right, let's do it again.
All right.
Hey, I want to talk to y'all a little bit about how to get more blooms from your summer annuals, and it's using a technique called pinching or heading off. So what I have right here is a Cosmos, and you can see I've got some behind me and in front of me. These taller cosmos were planted about 3 weeks before these little guys were. So these were started from seeds as transplants, and then we transplanted them out into the garden about 3 weeks ago. They haven't gotten a lot of growth on them yet, but it's time to do our pinching so that we can ensure that we get more branching from this primary stem. So if I allowed this plant to grow without pinching, it would eventually begin to branch on its own, but it would take a lot longer to get those additional branches. So we're just trying to speed up the process a little bit by sacrificing the first cut to promote branching so that we can get sequential cuts, okay? So you can see here, the ones behind me have been pinched. They were pinched about 10 days after they were planted, and then you can see some significant branching 3 to 4 weeks after that happened. So I'm going to show you how to do that today. So what you want to do is identify your nodes. And a node is where leaves grow out of the main stem. So there's a node here. We see another node right here. We see a node here. And it goes on up the plant. So in this particular situation, I want to leave about 2 to 3 healthy nodes, and I'm going to count up 3. 1, 2, 3. I'm going to make my cut right above the node, and I'm going to take out this top part of the plant, okay? So we're removing this to encourage branching from where we made the cut. I can already see 2 side branches that are starting to grow from that node. You can see one here, one there. We're going to get 2 here. We're going to get 2 at this node. We're going to get 2 at that node. So now I went from 1 primary stem and then potentially some branching later in the season to 6 primary stems, all from making 1 cut.
All right, here's our Q&A segment. Y'all ready?
I'm ready.
These are some great questions. Y'all ready?
Yes.
All right, let's get into it. Here's our first viewer email. Can you tell me the name of this shrub? It blooms in the spring. So Jason, can you help us out with that?
So that's Deutzia. Deutzia is an old-fashioned kind of pass-along shrub. It grows a similar habit to mock orange, the big old-fashioned ones. I mean, they can get 10 feet tall, kind of vase-shaped, and not real common until recent years, kind of coming back around. They've bred them to be more compact. There's a cultivar called Chardonnay Pearls that has gold foliage. It's much smaller. There's the Yuki series that's really compact. But the one in the picture, I'm pretty sure, is one of the old-fashioned ones. And again, mostly a pass-along plant, blooms early in the spring. Just a cool, tough, very drought-tolerant plant. So a neat plant to pass along with to your friends and neighbors, yes.
Yeah. So what are the conditions? Full sun, part shade? Or?
Yeah, well, it'll grow in full sun or part shade. And again, very drought-tolerant and really disease and insect resistant. So a tough plant.
So that's what you need.
Deutzia. I love saying that word.
Yeah, I think it's a cool word. All right, so thank you for that question. Here's our next viewer email. This is interesting, right? Does fish emulsion go bad? What do y'all think?
It's bad to begin with.
It smells bad.
It smells bad.
It smells bad.
We know that.
For sure.
So I actually had to do a little research on that. In fish emulsion, as long as it's kept in a stable storage area, it is going to last indefinitely.
Definitely. So probably a dark, cool area maybe?
Yes,
So
dark,
not freezing and thawing and
cool,
Yeah,
no
dark, cool.
freeze.
Yeah.
Yes, certainly don't want to have that rotating over and over. And you know, the majority of our liquid products, really fertilizer or pesticide, type products, are going to have pretty long shelf lives if they're stored properly.
If they're stored properly.
Yeah.
That's the key, if it's
That's
stored
the
properly.
key. That's the key.
I think that'll work.
I think a good rule of thumb, if you're comfortable, those products are going to be comfortable too.
That's
so
right.
kind of keep
Like
that
in
in
the
mind.
environment.
Yeah.
Climate control.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like if you have it in your,
I like
like my garage, I keep a lot of products in my garage. It
so
doesn't
do I.
freeze in there because, it's insulated, so
Yeah.
I know it's not freezing. But it's also not temperature controlled.
Right.
So,
That's
I mean, you don't have to keep them in your house
No,
because
no,
some of them
no.
have smells. But
Right.
just kind of bringing down that fluctuation.
All right. Yeah, I agree. It smells bad enough. That's for sure. All right, thank you for that question. Here's our next viewer email. This year, my daylilies developed a rusty color on the foliage along with thin white lines. How do I prevent this? And this is Teresa from DeSoto County, Mississippi. So what do you think about that?
So after looking at the photos she sent, that was a good photo.
Yeah, it was.
That's really pretty much the natural state of a daylily this time of year, is senescing. So once daylilies are actually, while they're putting up their scapes, their flowers, they are robbing energy from the foliage, and they are begin to actually start that process while they're flowering. And then when they finish flowering, that foliage is pretty much done. So you can actually cut all that off and start all over. So daylily growers, or even myself, I've cut all mine off, and I have new foliage coming out. So a lot of that is just natural senescing. The white line on there where she mentions in the email was leaf miner. And leaf miner really does very little damage. This is really more cosmetic, and I wouldn't worry about that. Now there is daylily rust, and it is very apparent. It's raised up, and you can rub it, and you can get that rusty color on your finger. Yes, absolutely, and it's very distinct. And if you have that, that's a whole nother issue. But that's rare to have this far.
That's not what that picture
that was not
is,
in that picture. And that's kind of rare to have that in Tennessee or beyond Tennessee. It blows in, or if you buy a daylily from the south, you can get it. It's not real common to have daylily rust here. But if you do have that, that's something you would want to consider taking control of, and there's great information online about that.
Yeah. And so I will add that those pictures, yes, that is the natural state of the daylilies. And as they are going downhill, lots of times that foliage will contract some fungal pathogens. And so that particular one is called leaf streak. And but it's not worth controlling. I mean, because that foliage is going downhill. So, you know, if they were to do some research on that, and I just wanted them to know that, yes, that is a pathogen that does infect that leaf tissue, but it's just a natural part of
decaying
that
process.
Right, so proper sanitation.
Just clean it up, you know, dispose of that, and then you'll have a whole new set of foliage come back.
And I have some daylilies that do it more than others, right? I mean, so, you know, some lose nearly every single bit of their
and same with culture, you know, if one is struggling because of heat and drought, or, you know, the soil's not as good there, it's going to be more prone to that as well, so.
All right, well, there you have it, Teresa. Thank you for that question. All right, so Jason, Celeste, this is too much fun.
Yay, it was
fun.
fun.
Yeah, it's great.
Thank y'all much.
Thank you.
Remember, we love to hear from you. Send us an email or letter. The email address is questions@familyplotgarden.com. And the mailing address is Family Plot, 7151 Cherry Farms Road, Cordova, Tennessee, 38016. Or you can go online to familyplotgarden.com. That's all we have time for today. Thanks for watching. If you want to find out more about anything we talked about today, head on over to familyplotgarden.com. We have over 1,000 gardening videos to help you out with your garden. Go check it out. Be sure to join us next week for the Family Plot Gardening in the Mid-South. Be safe.